Good afternoon, good evening, and good morning, and welcome to the Saturday edition of the Sportswise Veteran. I am always saying you never keep doing what you do, you never know who you're inspiring. Well, that's the same thing with people I work with. We're having a conversation yesterday before I left work. One of the guys I work with is a Knicks fan. He's like, "What do you think?" I'm like, "Indiana's going to win tonight, force a game seven. Nothing better than a game seven in Madison Square Garden." And lo and behold, I got lucky, predicted it. So I got thinking today, what are the best game sevens there's ever been? And I've pulled up a website called yardbreaker.com and a story by Mr. Chris Mueller. So I kind of took a lot of information from his story and applied it. I didn't do all 25 of the best games that he called or that he said were there, but I got some of them that I'm going to talk about that were relevant to me in some way. Some of them I've seen live, of them I was deployed. I have friends and family members that are fans of these teams that won. So these are the ones that apply to me. So we're going to start off real simple. We're going to talk about the 2016 NBA Finals, the Cavaliers versus the Warriors. The 73 win Warriors were looking to finish off the record regular season. That was a team that beat the 98 Bulls or 96 Bulls record of 72 wins. They were looking to get back-to-back titles, and for the first four games of the series, it looked like they were going to do that. They got out to a 3-1 lead, but LeBron James and the Cavaliers, one of the many teams he's been on, rallied back to tie things up. Curiously, the first six games of the series were all decided by double-digit scores. That was not the case for Game 7. A taut defensive struggle that went back and forth for the duration. With the score tied at 89, LeBron kept it that way with a spectacular chase down block of Andre Iguodala. A minute later, Kyrie hit what would prove to be the game-winning three. LeBron made free throw to extend the lead to four, and the Cavaliers held on to bring the city of Cleveland its first championship in 52 years, turning the Warriors' blown 3-1 series lead into a meme in the process. That's the equivalent, in my opinion, of the undefeated Patriots losing the Super Bowl to Eli Manning. It happens. LeBron got another ring in his hometown and then hurry up and left. But that was a great game seven. We were deployed for that game, but a buddy of mine that I work with was just ecstatic over that. So I've never met a Cleveland Cavaliers fan in my life, and he was a proud fan to win that. Let's move on to the 97 World Series, the Marlins versus the Indians. 2 years removed from losing the 95 World Series despite winning 100 games in a strike shortened season, the Indians were back in the Fall Classic facing the upstart Marlins, who shocked the Braves in the NLCS. The teams alternated wins in games 1 through 6, and it looked like that trend would end in game 7 as the Tribe took a 2-1 lead in the bottom of the ninth. Jose Mesa, who 2 years prior had saved 46 games and finished second in the AL Cy Young voting, came on to try and close the door. He was unable to. A Craig Counsell sac fly tied the game, and things moved uneventfully through the 10th inning and the top of the 11th. But in the bottom half, the Marlins got the win with Edgar Renteria singling in Counsell to bring the championship to South Florida in the team's fifth year of existence. If you remember, after that series, they had a fire sale and all the players were gone, and the Marlins went back to bottom dwellers. This one was fun to watch. This one was the things that had happened in our country. It's in the story here, just how things were working out. The Yankees should have won this. We were sitting there. I remember I was living in El Cajon, California. We were watching the series. My roommate was a huge, 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 and probably still is Yankees fan. So he's like, "We got this. We got this." The 2001 World Series, the Diamondbacks versus the Yankees. Played less than 2 months after 9/11, the 2001 World Series was one of the most emotional sporting events in history. For once, the Yankees were a sentimental choice, and many fans rallied to their side. After Alfonso Soriano's eighth inning home run off Kurt Schilling staked the Bronx Bombers to a 2-1 lead in Game 7, it looked like they can bring a championship back to the steel reeling New York City. Tony Womack and the Diamondbacks had other ideas. After a single, an error, a failed sac bunt left Arizona with runners on first and second and one out against Mariano Rivera. Womack lined a game tying double down the right field line. Rivera hit the next batter with a pitch, and Luis Gonzalez singled it. It was just, I'm still remembering this. Singled over a drawn in infield and toppled the seemingly invincible Rivera to bring a title to the desert. I still remember my roommate Chris just handing his head's just upset. And then watching Luis Gonzalez just hands in the air and jumping down the first base line as Arizona took it. It was amazing. Now this writer, uh, I'm going to read what he wrote, but it's not controversial, and because I'm a Sharks fan. 2019, the NHL Western Conference first round, the Sharks versus the Golden Knights. This one is still controversial in his eyes, even 5 years later. But whether you think or not, Vegas got robbed of a win. They did not. This game was still one for the ages. I remember sitting watching this game, being a Sharks fan. They'd finally just start tearing it up in the playoffs. And at this game, the Golden Knights were up 3-0 and cruising. And this was after 10 minutes, up 3-0. I'm sitting on the couch, just bummed. I'm like, I'm still watching, but I'm not happy. Cody Eakin cross-checked San Jose's Joe Pavelski, who lost his balance. He did not lose his balance. He got checked hard, and it was not clean. Bumped into Vegas, Paul Stastny, and fell to the ice. Knocked him out. Knocked him the F out. Eakin was hit with a 5-minute major and a game misconduct. This writer says it was a bad call. No, it was the right call. But the Golden Knights penalty kill was even worse. The Knights gave up 4 goals during the power play and found themselves trailing 4-3. Incredibly, they tied the game up with 47 seconds left, giving Vegas a stay of execution. But Barclay Goodrow completed the comeback and set the Sharks to the second round with a goal at 18 minutes 19 seconds of the first overtime. That was the emotional game of emotional games. It knocked him. I mean, Joe Pavelski, first of all, that entire stadium was quiet. Our arena was quiet. Joe Pavelski did not move for a couple minutes. He was knocked out. But the rules are rules. And when in our favor, I'll take it. We lost to the in the next round. I think it was to St. Louis, and they went on to win the Stanley Cup. Whatever. The 1988 NBA Finals, the Lakers versus the Pistons. Isaiah Thomas was battling a bum ankle after suffering the injury in Game 6. So Game 7 of this hotly contested series had every reason to be a laughter. It wasn't. Dumars paced Detroit with 25 points, and 7 Pistons reached double figures as they rallied from a 10-point deficit at the start of the fourth quarter. A controversial foul on Bill Laimbeer turned things in Lakers' favor for good. However, James Worthy posted a triple-double in the victory, notching 36 points, 16 boards, 10 dimes. How many players have put up at least 35, 15, and 10 line in Game 7 in the NBA Finals? Only James Worthy, according to Basketball Reference. Detroit would have its revenge, however, sweeping the Lakers in the finals rematch the following year. Next up, when it comes to sports, they bring up a game, and if you're passionate, and I'm not saying you got to match my passion. I love all sports except soccer. But when you're watching a game or somebody talks about a game, you remember where you were. For the 2003 ALCS Yankees versus Red Sox, I was in Pensacola, Florida, in our barracks room. We were in school, C school. We were just sitting back, all of us in the barracks room, drinking beer, watching the game. Things could not, things would soon get better for the Red Sox fans, but they didn't know it at that time. It was going well in this one until Grady Little left Pedro Martinez in for the 8th inning. The Sox were up 5-2, and Grady Little came out. Pedro said, I'm good, I'm good, I'm good. Sox were up 5-2, and things looked well in hand, but Martinez started to flag immediately. And in the span of 5 hitters, he had given up 3 runs. Boston relievers stopped the bleeding, but the damage was done. Game proceeded into extra innings and stayed that way until Aaron Boone stepped to the plate in the bottom of the 11th. Boone took the first pitch he saw from knuckleballer Tim Wakefield, rest in peace, deep into the left field seats, and the Yankees were off to the World Series again. That's for the Red Sox fans. I know you bring up the 86 game with Bucky Dent, or no. Why am I drawing a blank? Because I'm not a huge Red Sox fan. Buckner, Bill Buckner. And that you bring up Buckner and you bring up Aaron Boone, and that will set every Red Sox fan off. But they got their revenge next year. We all remember they were down 3-0 in the ALCS, and they came back to win four straight and went to the World Series. My boy Willie still reminds me of this game. The 2002 NBA Western Conference Finals, the Lakers versus the Kings. The Kings were still smarting after game 6 of this series, an affair where the officiating remains a topic of debate to this day. Still, they had a chance to put down the Lakers and to do so in the friendly confines of Arco Arena. Arco at the time was where Sacramento played, and it was one of the loudest arenas. You got the cowbell ringing, everything. It was just an environment that or opposing teams did not want to come in and play. The game was a seesaw battle with 16 ties and 19 lead changes, and neither team blinked. After 48 minutes, the teams were tied at 100, but in overtime, despite Mike Bibby's heroics, the Lakers finally pulled away and scoring the final 8 points of the game to come away with a 112-106 victory. Shaquille O'Neal was a force with 35 points and uncharacteristically sharp 11 for 15 from the free throw line to go along with 13 boards. As LA survived what by far was its toughest run during that title run. Shaq going 11 for 15 at the line that would have made this list at all. I mean, that's amazing. I don't think he's ever gone 11 for 15 since then or before then. The 1962 World Series, the Yankees versus the Giants. Now, this was a pitcher's duel. Ralph Terry threw 4-hit shutout for the Yankees. But the most interesting fact about this contest is that you can use to impress your friends if you want to. And if they're into random trivia like I am, this is the only Game 7 in history where the winning team did not record an RBI. The Yankees got the game's only run by virtue of a Tony Kubik double play ball, one that scored Bill Moose Skowron on the play. That was all Terry needed as he navigated some serious trouble in the bottom of the ninth inning, a Matty Alou single and a Willie Mays double to keep the Giants off the board and bring another title to the Bronx. Next up is the 1960 World Series, Pirates versus the Yankees. And this is from the writer, quote, "You didn't think this one would go unmentioned, did you?" The 1960 Fall Classic is noteworthy for many reasons. For one, the Pirates were outscored by the Yankees 55-27 in the series. New York batted .338 as a team and hit 10 home runs. The Pirates hit .256 and smashed only 4 round trippers. The Yankees' victories were by 13 runs, 12 runs, and 10 runs. The Yankees' scoreboard dominance is one interesting aspect of this series. Another is that they lost, and in a historic and never been before seen, and never seen since fashion. The Pirates jumped out to a 4-0 lead in Game 7 at Forbes Field, but the New York Yankees rallied with 7 unanswered runs and carried a 7-4 lead into the bottom of the 8th. The Pirates rallied, though, thanks in part to a bad hop grounder that hit Yankee shortstop Tony Kubik in the throat and knocked him out for the game. Hal Smith put them ahead 9-7 with a go-ahead 3-run dinger, but the Yankees tied it in the top of the ninth that set up for the stage for Bill Murawski, who led off the bottom of the ninth with a walk-off series-winning home run off Ralph Terry. It remains the only Game 7 walk-off home run in World Series history. Since we started off with LeBron, we might as well, since we're in the meat and potatoes of this, talk about the GOAT. The 1998 NBA Conference Finals, the Bulls versus the Pacers. Only 2 teams forced a Game 7 against Michael Jordan's Bulls in their 6th title run. The 92 Knicks, who bowed out quietly in a 110-81 blowout in the Eastern Conference semifinals, and the 98 Pacers, who pushed Jordan and company to the brink in a much more competitive Game 7. Indiana's stifling defense held Jordan and Pippen to 45 points on a combined 15 for 43 from the field. That carried over to the foul line where they combined to shoot 15 for 24, a mediocre 62.5%. Despite 5-point margin of victory, Indiana held a fourth quarter lead in this one, and watching the game, it truly felt like the Bulls might actually lose. The hero was Tony Kukoc, who blistered the Pacers for 21 points, including three triples, as the Bulls battled through a tough team effort from Indianapolis to earn an 88-83 victory. And finally, I had to leave this one best for last. It means so much, one, to the city of Chicago, family members that I have, friends that I have, everybody that just seeing their heartache. I didn't see them for the 100 years of heartache, but the 10 to 15, 20 years I've known a lot of these guys and friends and family that are Cubs fan. This one meant the most for all of them. We're going to talk about the 2016 Cubs versus Indians World Series. The 103 win Cubs were looking at to end the franchise's 108-year title drought, as they needed to go through a similarly tortured Indians club to do it. For those that are just now watching this for the first time, the Indians are a team that are now called I don't even know what they're called. It's a crappy thing. They shouldn't have changed it. Thank you. The Guardians. My wife chiming in. They're the Indians. Plain and simple, they'll always be referred to as the Indians by me. After Cleveland jumped out to a 3-1 series lead, it looked for all the world like it would deny the Cubs fans their victory. Chicago roared back to win the next two and seize the momentum for a decisive game 7. The Cubs built a 6-3 lead, and when the bottom of the ninth inning rolled around with the same score on the board, Cleveland looked cooked. John Lester, who got the first two batters out, then gave up a single. Aroldis Chapman entered to slam the door, and the Indians shocked him in the baseball world. I still remember Dan Coffey, a guy I worked with. We were in Bahrain, and just seeing his bevy of emotions going up and down. Brandon Geyer doubled in Jose Ramirez. Then Rajee Davis battled Chapman before lining a tying home run to left field. Chicago took an 8-6 lead in the top of the 10th thanks to Miguel Montero, but the Indians cut it to 8-7 before their comeback magic run out, and the Cubs were finally champions. I remember our Chiefs mess rented an apartment in Bahrain there, and it was like 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning, running through the apartment, just cheering, excited. And unfortunately, that's the only emotion I got to see from a Cubs fan. But seeing social media, because we were deployed, but seeing social media react and just everybody saying, hey, it must be getting cold outside. Hell froze over. The Cubs won. But this game meant so much that there's friends, their family members, the generations of Cubs fans never got to see this. So they got to celebrate it. I think it meant more. This 108 drought meant more to the curse being broken 2004 for the Red Sox. So even now we hear more about the 2016 Cubs. Granted, it's been 8 years than I've heard about the '04 Red Sox. It means more. And in my opinion, the '04 Red Sox turned into the Yankees because they started buying, getting all these hot hitters, stuff like that. But the Cubs have stayed that blue collar team that they're still pushing. They're still a team, but I don't know. Cubs fans seem a lot more passionate about the victory than the Red Sox fans did. Well, I'm going to end this. It's been about 20 minutes, so I'm going to go enjoy the weekend. I hope you guys have a great weekend. And again, you never know who you're inspiring. Keep doing what you're doing. Oh, and my prediction for the Knicks and Pacers, Knicks are going to take it at home. They're going to win by double digits. Calling it. So, you guys have a great weekend. Have a great day. I'll talk to you later. This has been the Sports Wise Veteran. Have a good day.